Sage Wanderer coming at you from my van down by the river. Sorry if I sound a little nasally. I kind of had a little crying jag a minute ago. You know me, though. I cry at the drop of a hat. But I cried because of something that someone said on my comment section. No, I'm not a snowflake, and no, they didn't hurt my feelings. They reminded me of something that I'd kind of stuffed away and forgotten about. Something that I just refer to as the prophecies. Now, many of you know that I'm a preacher's kid. Many of you know that I was raised in that Pentecostal type of Christianity that believes in prophecy. Speaking in tongues with interpretation, prophetic words, people known as prophets, and that even one time in my life I had a best friend who was a prophet, someone that I vetted and believed in their prophetic abilities. But this prophecy that I'm referring to, these prophecies, refer to prophecies made about me before I was born, at the time of my birth, and then periodically throughout my childhood and even into my adulthood. And that I've had some peculiar encounters with spiritual people in random ways that I don't know that other people necessarily have. Hey, if this is common and this has happened to you, then let me know, but I don't know that it's happened to you like 12 or 13 times, sometimes even anonymously. Let me explain. I talked about how I was conceived to be a piano player for the church band. I talked about how my mother asked God that I have a soft heart, that I preach the gospel, and that I play the piano. And that those three prophetic things came to pass, but there's a lot of ways to explain that away. However, what I haven't talked about is how every time a preacher would see me in some kind of tent revival situation, that he would single me out of all the other children, grab me by the hand, pull me up to the front with a microphone, and proclaim these same kind of prophetic words over me that was used to describe me by one of my viewers. One of my viewers said, "Sage, the way I see you is like a flashlight or a big light up on a hill, shining light on the darkness." Now that's a scriptural reference. It does have a lot of religious overtones. And I'm going to try not to start crying. But that is the thing in the prophecy. Oh, no good. Here it goes. That's the thing in the prophecy they always say. That I'll be like a light on a hilltop, that exposing evil in the end time. Many of them included that phrase, in the end times. It was so random. I would often wonder if my mother was causing it in some way. Of course, in our family, it was just believed wholeheartedly. That's why there was a ton of pressure on me as a child. Always was, as a young adult. When I started to be a musician, rebelled, and went my own way, I disappointed so many people. So many people. I was a popular young musician, and I disappointed so many people in that world when I encountered this satanic cabal that wanted me to sign my soul over to their control. And I refused to, and they set out to destroy my career, my young career. I disappointed a lot of people who thought, you're the guy that's of all of us. We thought you were going to be the one that was going to really be famous because you were the one that had so much talent. And I've had to endure in my life so many people doing what my mom is finally almost in home therapy. She's almost in personal therapy over me concerning something that she calls being a Sarah. That my mother has so tried to manipulate my life and put me into positions of control and power in churches and even engaged. I don't want to throw my mom under the bus. But what a mom won't do, try to promote her kid if she's there. And that's always been a problem. Because my mom knew about all of these prophecies. And so let me give you now an example, a generic example of a prophecy. And they would almost always say, God says that this child in the last days will become a voice among men. that his voice will be heard like it's shouting from a mountaintop. Even though he doesn't raise his voice, that's another thing that I never really... How can you be heard from mountaintops if you never raise your voice? So in the early days, everyone thought radio, television. That's how you do that. The internet was never conceived of. That you would be like a light, shining light on the darkness in the last days, and that you would lead people to the truth. To the truth. They always said to the truth. I don't know what kind of effect I'm having on the world. And to live under that kind of prophecy your whole life, to not become some kind of crazy megalomaniac, I don't know. I just blew it off as, hey, I'm part of a religious cult. They say that about a lot of people. And there's a lot of prophecies flying around about a lot of stuff. You hear all kinds of things. And I was never a true believer of it necessarily. But then, I made some inroads as a musician, and all my life I thought, it just means I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to affect people with my music. And it was always millions. That was the other thing, that millions of people will hear your voice. Millions of people will be reached. Millions will listen to you. Always more than 1 million. So, you're going to do the math, if you're a kid especially. How many is a million? You ever sit down and think about that? Like what 1 million pennies would look like? And maybe sit down and think like even what 1 million $1 bills would look like? How about 1 million eggs? That's a lot. More than 1 million is a lot. Millions means there's more than 2 million. Well, this leads me to the most credible of all of the prophetic words that I've ever gotten about who I am and about my life. And this would have been right towards the end of my time as a minister. And my best friend was a recognized prophet. He was a known Texas prophet. He walked under that anointing, and few people questioned him. If they did, he would read their mail, and they would soon be believers, as was I when dealing with this person. Like other prophets, though, one of the hard things he always had to deal with was, delineating his personal opinion and feelings and interpretation of the information given instead of just sticking to the information. That was hard for him. But he and I were having coffee one day, and what I call the Spirit came on him. And he grabbed me by the arm, and he goes, I just want you to know you're going to reach millions and millions of people. I want you to know that you're going to be like a light on a hill, showing and spotlighting the darkness, and the darkness will flee from the light that you shine. And that you will reach millions of people with your message. And I'm like, how is it? Is it music? Is it preaching? And at the time, I was writing Christian novels, and I had one nearly finished. And I had not been published. I'm still not published. I never finished that novel. I have some others I haven't finished. And I was trying to be a writer. And I said, so is it music? How am I going to reach people? And he goes, it's not music. That's the thing. You think it's music, but your music has almost... And then he stops and he goes, there's a little music. You being a musician is part of it, but it's not music. And I'm like, so it's writing. And he goes, well, it is quiet. It's quieter than music. I said, so it's preaching. And he goes, not really. Because I really just see you. I just see you giving your message to people, to millions of people. This is before either one of us really knew what this technology was like, that I could pull up this device and talk into it, and you all over the world could hear my voice, and I could do it, and it wouldn't cost me money. It would pay me a little bit of money, even though I'd be lost in a sea of people. Just to have that ability was not even imagined by us, really. We didn't understand what the world was about to change into. I've had strangers pull me out of a public place, around a corner, and go, I want you to know that you are going to reach millions with this message. God's going to give you a message that you're going to reach millions of people with it. And you're going to be like a light on a hilltop, shining. You ever have a stranger And one guy, he was a fill-in guy that came to work at a place where I was working, and he worked at another store 60 miles away. And they pulled him in because there was a flu epidemic, and they needed someone to cover the shift, and he and I were working together. And he sits me down and he goes, "Hey man, I want to tell you that I never do this, but this is really weird. But so I'm a Christian, and I don't know if you even believe in God, but I have to do what I have to do, and God told me to sit down and tell you that I love you. God says He loves you, and He's not done with you. And things seem really tough right now." And I was going through some tough times. I mean, he didn't know it, but I was trying not to starve to death. And he says, and this guy says, gosh, I lost my place. The same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's always the same thing. You know, you're going to be like a light on the hilltop in the last days, and you're going to shine the light on the darkness, and you're going to tell people are going to be led to the truth, and you're going to reach millions. Well, there's part of my channel that you can't see. I mean, you can see that my story about MK Ultra delivered 540,000 plus views right now, 500,000, climbing towards 1 million views on just that single video. But what isn't displayed, I don't think, on any of your viewing of my channel, that you can only see from the back door of my channel, is how many overall numbers of views that I've had. And I'm well over 2 million. That's more than 1 million. That's 2 million. And to me, already, regardless of what happens from here on out, I fulfilled that very specific and weird little prophecy about how someday I would reach millions through basically speaking softly to them, but still being heard by millions. And that I would shine a light, like a flashlight or a spotlight on a hilltop, shining light on darkness and exposing the dark. Yeah. No pressure. I'm just a guy in a van down by the river, and I got to keep telling myself that. But there isn't a minute going by that I, along with many of you, don't sit and look at everything that's going on in the world and think, we've got to be in the last days. This has got to be it. Everything we were taught about in Sunday school has got to be happening right now. This world does not resemble the place we used to live in. And I could list all of the bizarre things that are going on and all the things that are threatened to happen to us at any moment. And just to see the decline of our civilization, if nothing else, this is the decline and fall of the Roman Empire too. And we got a front row seat. So thanks for watching this channel. Whether I'm a prophet or a guy that lives down in a van by the river, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to keep talking to this little window because that's what I feel like doing. All right. God save the Republic.